Well, hello everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for the CR webinar, Child Resistant webinar. My name is Robin Tan, and I am one of the co-founder and director of business development for Zenpack. And then here joining me is Leo Chao. He's our director of design, and we will be focusing on child-resistant packaging today. Talk about why is it so important in the cannabis industry across the U.S. Well, here, Leo, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Leo. Nice to see you guys again. I'm the creative director here and co-founder at Zenpack. So today we're gonna be talking about what they call CR packaging.
Right.
And I think most of you guys are interested in this topic for cannabis products. It has been a pretty hot topic. Keyword
sure.
really among cannabis brand owners. So today I want to dive in a little bit under try to give you guys a very general overview, also very a few good details as well for people who are maybe just getting to the industry, or you've been there for a while but now have been hearing like some rumors or news around the packaging requirements. So I'll kind of start just by explaining what CR. I think some of you might not really might have heard the term, but really not know what is CR. So
yep. And then, but by the way, if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to post in the chat box, and then we're gonna get to it towards the end of the seminar. We'll answer the question then.
Yeah. So along the way, fire away the questions. So CR stand for child resistant, and the most common, or the ones that's maybe more familiar to general public, are your pill bottles. So we have an Advil here. That's even not the most standard one. These ones you actually have to press and then turn, right, to open. Otherwise it doesn't open, right? So we all have a experience of some of these before. This one's again the typical one where you have to press and then turn, right? Again, without pressing it down or understanding the mechanism, you can open the box or the bottle here. These are probably the most common ones that are known by the general public. Now, again, what CR is meaning to do is really protecting toddlers who at a younger age, that preventing them from accessing the content inside. It's really a safety measure. Now, traditionally, a lot of pharmaceutical products obviously were required because there will be kind of a dangerous situation if your toddler or children have access to these and accidentally
eat too many of them.
Right. So that's a problem, right? Now, for cannabis, obviously, that's also a problem. We, as cannabis brand owners, should care a lot about it because that's a well-being of your customer, right? So,
actually, just so you know, I among many cousins of mine, they're with especially the edibles, how accessible they are now, and how they just look real like a candy. They have some experience on with kids taking them.
So definitely something you need to watch out for, and as a brand owner, it is our responsibility to take care of that. I'm gonna show you a little more, just things that we have around here. That's another CR jar. There's some interesting ones where, for cannabis industry especially, there's really like something really tiny like these.
How do you open that?
This one you press on the two sides, and then
interesting.
Then you
go to you lift. Okay, press and lift. Okay.
Actually, this is really a good example. Some of these can be quite confusing. I'll take guess. I was trying to open this before our webinar today. I really couldn't do it. There's a little tiny instructions on the side, but it's kind of hard to read. And then, I was trying it out a few times. It didn't really open. So, okay.
There you go. You have to press on the side and then open. Okay.
So sometimes it can be a little difficult. There's another good example here. That's a little tube thing, paper tube. You have a little button here. like a
all
plastic
kinds. Okay.
plastic injection molding bottom type of thing. You have to press down, I guess, and
twist.
then you
And
lift
pull.
and
Okay.
pull. Right.
Wow,
Quite a bit.
There's a lot of variations.
A lot of different
out there.
kinds.
Yeah, got it.
So-
Some of them I have not seen before.
Yeah. So all of that, there's probably there's a few more bags I want to show you guys actually. So there's some like what they call exit bags used to be called, and then this way you have to actually pull on the second tab. Really try to, and then you can open it. So some of them is more physical, so like you have to twist or push. Some of them is a little more cognitive, where this one just like it put the reverse the logic basically of how someone will open the bag and change the cognitive thinking around it, so to prevent the children from accessing it. Some of them again a little more physical, where you have to like rub this area to open. There we go. Alright. So a lot of different mechanisms. This one is a general lock type of features. Alright. So
now, what are these exit bag? I mean,
yeah.
if my packaging already have a
so
mechanism on it, why do I need
this
that?
actually brings us a little bit to the kind of the history of like CR packaging for cannabis. So I think back before 2019, if you sell any of the cannabis product in a dispensary, at the time, generally speaking, these dispensaries will provide a type of these type of exit bags, what they call. What they do is after you gather all your bought all your ingredient products, they will put it inside an exit bag like these that has a CR function. So back then, the CR requirement was really somewhat being placed on the dispensary side, where the brand owners doesn't really need to worry about it. Whereas starting 2020, the law has changed to say, in many states, they want the CR packaging to be responsible or put the responsibility to the brand owners rather than the dispensaries.
I see.
So the exit bags, at least in California right now, are being
slowly fading away. Okay.
And then all the actual product packaging now needs to have CR, and that is why actually I think we want to. A lot of topic or a lot of discussions are about on the topic today, because a lot more people now care.
That makes sense. So just yesterday, a really good friend of mine who is actually a brand owner for cannabis and CBD products. And then we were just talking about this webinar, and he was like, he's co-packer and then he's distributor who's helping him packing the product into his packaging is now requiring him to get child-resistant packaging.
Wow. Okay.
So in order for them to pack it for him, they want to pack it into a child-resistant packaging, and that has a certification on it. So it's shifting in a certain way, where just because these distributors are distributing to dispensaries, so I know some of them is making that mandate to the brand owner. So definitely, I think that's another reason why we're getting a lot of questions actually, coming to us.
That is very interesting, because I think back in 2020, again, while the law is being announced, we don't have a lot of clarity on how the law will be enforced, like who will be actually requiring it, who's checking.
Very true. Yeah.
We see now and been hearing more and more about the story like these, where what you said then is actually now the distributors or the packing facility will be requiring, CR packaging if you ask them to pack your products. So I think slowly they're really transitioning that responsibility to different license holders, so that to ensure at the end you have a CR packaging for your products.
Yeah, and then I really think the supply chain ownership really understanding how also challenging and how dangerous this could be if a minor get a hold of it and consume too many of it. So
Yeah.
That kind of a mindset is going
definitely
around.
shifting.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
honestly, that's why we're talking about today, because a lot of clients and when we go to trade shows, a lot of people being asking us about, what is CR? I know it's needed now, but what do I do with it?
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
So, while I think the things are transitioning, and putting more responsibility away from the dispensary to the brand owners.
Yeah.
As a brand owner and business owner, you probably need to know a little more now specifics about what CR is.
So Leo, what is a certification? What is a CR certification? I mean, it sounds like it's a quite lengthy process. I've heard, you are in the trenches of dealing this with the design team. What can you tell us about it? I mean, what is it, and what do we need to do?
Yeah. The overall protocol is really lengthy. I don't think we have to get into the very specific detail today, but I'm gonna try to explain a little bit and see if we can at least get some real numbers and exactly what happens here. So the certification is called a CFR 1700.20. So that is actually the exact certification number code written by FDA, and then that gives you, if are you interested in the full detail, try to look that up, and it'll give you a full detail of what the testing look like.
Okay.
Generally describing what that looks like is that the testing process is really a simulating process. It's trying to simulate, well, now if your packaging actually will survive in the wild, in the everyday life, if a toddler or children will be able to open it. Now, our goal is actually, goes against it. Obviously, that we try to create a CR packaging that does not allow children to be able to access the content inside. So the testing looks like these. When you have your design done, you need to produce 300 boxes, and you give 200 of them to a group of children in the age between 3 to 5. Say, there's exact months actually, and exact percentages and brackets listed in the protocol. So if you're interested, take a look at it. But overall, there are 200 boxes and 200 children.
And 200 children do it at the same time?
And at the same time. They are broken up into 4 groups.
Okay.
But they need to be there at the same time.
Wow.
And there's 100 box actually given to seniors, so elderly seniors.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people ask about why are we... Yeah, so... as you can see, this is a good example, actually. Now, this is doing a very good job preventing children from accessing it. But, as we all know, a lot of seniors actually might have some problem with these. Because they have weak hands and all that, right? The strength isn't that. Yeah. So, CR packaging really isn't just to prevent from children accessing. It's also a universal design where you have to take care of, the prevention, obviously, but also not blocking someone else's access to it.
You need to be open to access to it. You need to be able to open it. Right?
So you can build something really, really hard to open. Yes, of course.
But just seal it.
It's actually not that hard, right? To create something that's just impossible to open. But you want everyone else to open it, right? And especially the ones in our group population that might have a weaker hands or strength, you want them to be able to open that. So that's why the protocol requires us to test on the island. Okay. Right. So the testing group ranges from age 50 to 65.
Okay.
Again, there's brackets that we testing lab will select and perform the test on. Now, on the reverse, obviously for the children, the testing goal is to allow your senior to open the bottle or open your packaging.
Yeah. And then going back to, you were saying 200 children.
Yeah.
How does this lab managing to get this many kids in one room and doing it at the same time? And then it looks like different groups, they need to have a moderator looking at them, monitor them.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, Leo?
Yeah. So generally, there are very specialized labs that run these tests.
Okay.
And from we know many of the testing procedures happens in schools or a church or a organization community that has a lot of students or kids. That's mostly what happens in US at least, that you can get access to the testing groups.
Got it.
The instructions usually given in these tests are very, very mild. So like if I'm the moderator and if I'm sitting in front of the children today, what I will say actually is I'll say, hey, please open this box or packaging, and that's it. You don't really say anything about it. There's another second phase of the test where you actually perform and you say something like this. You say, here's how I open the package, and I'll actually just open it and let them see how I open it without explaining how I open it, but they'll see it.
Got it.
And then you give this package to the children and again let them test. Now the reason why they're doing that is because in everyday life, your parents might be, without knowing that your children might be watching you, right? Opening and closing these. Obviously, you're not going to explain to them like how to open it,
but they can see it.
They can see it, right? So that's again simulation, right? They're trying to mimic what happened in real life and try to see if that still works. Because a lot of children are pretty smart, right? They look at you and like see how you do this, and they'll learn it.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, right? So that's why that kind of protocol or testing procedures are existed.
Okay, and then and how long? I mean, how long does it take? I mean, you have the plan ahead. You gotta sign out with the lab. So what's that process look like?
Yeah. Generally speaking, once everything's produced, it'll take about 45 days to run the test.
Oh wow! Okay.
It
takes some time
and quite a bit of planning too, because it's not that easy to gather that many children at the same place at the same time.
Well, and then talking about COVID, I mean,
right?
I don't know
how honestly
how that's
that has what we've been hearing is that it has been putting a lot of stress on the labs, because school closures, it's very hard to access the facility and really just a group of people,
right?
So and with the demand from the cannabis industry and then the resource from the schools dropping, you have a very difficult time really to perform or to get into the test cycles. So I'll suggest if you plan to run this test, definitely try to plan ahead.
Well, I'm pretty sure these labs have some sort of wait list going on. I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Good.
So overall, 45 days really to get the test done. But
okay. Now, what about? I mean, there's the production of the box.
Yeah, that's the real challenge too, right? So, in terms of designing and developing, I think a unique one or unique packaging solutions, the time can obviously change depending on what kind of goal you want to achieve, right? So it could happen all the way from a year to a year and a half, I would say.
Got it.
So that and also production of that 300 boxes will take at least a month.
Yeah. That's definitely a lot of planning going on. And then, Leo, I saw most of the packaging that you have shown us right now are mostly the jars, the glass bottles, and then we have a tincture bottle. I have been to dispensary here and there, and I can see the trend that is changing in the market where, the whole point of having a product in dispensary is getting noticeable, and then making sure the packaging looks as good as in the retail store. Yeah. And I see these CR packaging or CR mechanism that's being placed into the packaging, and then now they have all kinds of different material for different type of product. What's your thought on that? I mean, do we have anything that's for edible or for something different that you can maybe share with us a little bit?
So generally speaking, gummies and like edibles can go into a bottle, regular bottle like these.
Right.
You have your tincture bottles. This one's kind of interesting. It also has a function in this, so you can't really open it. You have to push down, right? So all kinds of different mechanisms or material. You got your pre-roll kind of things. Yeah. You got your flour,
concentrates.
That one. This is kind of special. I can show you guys this. Kiva is been making cannabis chocolates, THC chocolates. For
Yeah,
a
their
while
chocolate
now.
tastes great, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, and I think one of the we've been noticing their packaging for a while now because it is all paper, and then the mechanism is kind of interesting where you have to push down like these to open it.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's I think it's all paper, at least from what I can see, and it's actually nice because you can afford to have a lot of interesting finishes. So this is like a craft paper with a really interesting deboss, and then you got a nice label with like a gold foil.
I mean, and it is CR, and it's not affecting their brand value or image. Actually,
Exactly.
the packaging looks just as good.
If you imagine like these and like something like that, right?
Just
Immediately this just wings because your branding is just that much more, unique and I think on point. So now you can do a lot of different things, and it just appears to be more, just stand out more.
Or
on the shelves.
on the shelf for
So,
sure. Yeah.
This I think really brings to some of the things that we've been working on for the past year, where we see a lot of good products, I think, on the sort of plastic bottle side, but not a whole lot on the paper side, where a lot of clients been asking us because, for one, it gives you a really good value in terms of branding opportunities.
Very true. Yeah.
Second thing is people don't want to have a lot of plastic nowadays, right? So it's a sustainable request from many of our clients.
Well, on top of that, with the expert.
Yeah.
And paper, right?
So
that's what we do all day.
a lot of being, I think about a year and a half ago, right? We've been getting to the industry in terms of packaging, and then we've been hearing a lot of requests and saying, hey, can I do a rigid box with CR? Can I not have any plastic? How do I do a more premium packaging for my, premium pre-rolls? That's, I think, why we started to source different things like what we showed today. But then ultimately realizing there just aren't a lot of good solutions for paper boxes.
I haven't seen that many.
CR.
Well, I've seen boxes where it's paper, but I took it apart and it's actually plastic inside.
Yeah, so like this is a good example. I'll say like everything else is paper based, but like this mechanism is like a little plastic inside, and then like some foam inside as well, which is it's okay, but I think as some brand would say or request is we really want to have a packaging that does not have any plastic parts. That's really just the trend that's been going, and also just cost too.
Of course,
a lot of these injection molded parts are quite expensive. So what we did is seriously, we came up with a cool new mechanism.
Well, it's a rigid box. So,
it's a rigid box. So this is
the premium feel.
This is Zenlock. What we did, in the past 2 years was to creating a unique rigid box that has a CR function inside. So it's a very mild sort of mechanism that you can't really see much from the outside.
I mean, it's still a lot of space for the brand owner to.
So what you do again is you push down this space almost. There's no button really. It's just this black part is actually a graphic that we put in. So essentially, if we don't print anything, it's really just a blank thing, which is what we want. We wanted to create a really blank canvas. So this one I'm gonna show you guys. So without pressing the button, you can't really open it. So when you press it in here, it actually locks it right here. Now this is great because it's reusable.
Got it.
Right?
Reusable.
So a lot of the edibles cannabis products require the packaging to be CR and the reusable CR because you have multiple doses inside one pack. If you have that, then you want to have a reusable CR because obviously you're gonna keep that for a while. And initially we designed it 3 different sizes, and these things can scale up and down quite easily.
What about? I mean, what are you holding is a drawer style type of a box.
Yeah.
What about if I want some different style? Can we do something like that?
Yeah. So this is really just I think initial base design.
Okay.
So this mechanism, patented mechanism, can be transformed into different like box styles if you want to. So it doesn't have to be a exact drawer style. You could have an extra flap or lid or something like that, or like a pull tab or something that could easily make these a little more unique.
Got it.
Matter of fact, we're working with a client that's having a new product. Can show you today, but still under NDA. But essentially, this could be very easily changed and scale into other styles and boxes. And also, you could have different inserts inside to hold
for different products, right?
Yeah.
So edibles, maybe joints, and I don't know, concentrates, vapes, cartridges. I think covers quite a bit of products.
This is a good example how it's when it's branded. This brand is called Hyphen. This is a pre-roll, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
like a 4 counts or something.
So very nicely papered material that can be printed with very premium, textures and prints. Again, this is something we've done. Honestly, when we were just trying to serve our clients really their needs. When we couldn't find the right solutions, we decided to see if we can make one on our own really.
And then Leo, I don't want to get into too much detail. I wasn't in the trenches for this project. You are you're leading the design team for this box. Maybe just share with us like how challenging it was with trying to do it without a plastic mechanism.
So in the beginning, obviously, it started out really simple. It's just like, well, people are asking for these things. I need a CR. I want something premium, and I don't want any plastic. Right. That's really the
sounds easy.
Yeah, it sounds very straightforward.
Right.
The premium part is easier to deal with. We have a lot of experience with these rigid boxes. The CR part, obviously challenging. For the amount of I guess all the requirement about opening with ease, but also hard enough for the children, easy enough, right?
Yep.
For the elderly people, but we kind of have that figured out. I think early on, it's really that avoiding plastic altogether was really challenging because a lot of the reclosure or mechanism with paper is just really hard to do.
Especially breaking it, doing it again, and then you have to work again.
Right, like you need to open and close many times, right? So honestly, at one point, I think we're about to give up on this just because it was so difficult, and we're putting a lot of time and effort, investment already in it.
How long did it take?
About a year and a half. Okay. About a year and a half, like a full year, I think, really just on the design, and the last, I think, 4 to 5 months were developing the mechanism or the tooling for the actual production. So I'm glad we decided
we did it.
We say, you know what, no, we that's not what we set out to do. Probably extended the timeline a little longer than what we wanted, but I think in the end that's something we see more valuable than anything else. Is really to have that premiumness along with no plastic parts.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Well, hey, I think that it's about 30 minutes now. We have some questions actually been flowing in, so let me just take a look at it and we can get to them. Well, here's one question. Do you need CR if the dispensary already use CR exit bags?
Yeah. So, like we mentioned before, a lot of the dispensaries, even if they have right now, it's very likely that they will get rid of it. Now, for a couple of reasons. For one, the law now has putting the responsibility on the brand owner. So, as a dispensary, why would they want to spend more money, right? So
very
slowly
true.
We see that will be gone, basically.
Yeah, they do need to spend some money for the exit bag.
The second thing I think most importantly is that with the space being more competitive, you do want to be really carrying your brand and then letting people know that you care about them too, right? So having a CR packaging, I think, just showed that a little more, where not only we want to sell your product, good products, but we care the well-being of your family too. It just it just makes your branding and your brand that much more, I think, caring and considerate. So overall, we think the trend is going there, and then I think as a benefit to your own branding value, you really want to look into that and try to build a CR on your own, really, or have a CR packaging for your own products.
Got it. Great. Thank you. Here's another question. What is the MOQ for CR packaging? I think I can maybe help on this one a little bit more. You know, it really depends on the material and the style of the packaging that you're going after. For example, on the paper version of the packaging, there really isn't that much tooling that's involved, and then the MOQ doesn't need to be super high. You know, for something like this, maybe we can 500 pieces. I think that will make sense as far as unit cost wise, how we amortize some of the printing tooling and stuff into paper boxes. But for something like any type of plastic pieces, a lot of times these are being mass produced in the same style, and then there is certain MOQ from the distribution. If you want to make your own, now obviously there you have to have a tooling, and then there is a certain amount of plastic pellets you will have to purchase, and then that certain amount coming from the supplier that will equal to the MOQ you need. And sometimes it can easily go up to thousands or tens of thousands for something like this and plastic. So, you know, it really depends on the size, whether or not it's, off-shelf solutions. That MOQ does change quite a bit in a very big range. So I'm sorry, not a very straightforward answer, but if you have certain projects that you have some product that you're looking for CR packaging, feel free to DM us, and we can try to help you guide you through that process and give you some feedback there.
Another detail thing like these, where while the jars are probably standardized stock material,
right?
Some of our clients say, "Hey, I want a different lid." Now, while a jar might be low MOQ, your lid might have a higher MOQ because it's specialized in more customized ones. So that's something you kind of have to watch out for as well. Sometimes different parts will have different MOQs.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, and then something like that, right? For earlier, we saw the square that concentrate box, this little one. Yeah. Again, that to me seems a unique tooling, obviously. So that tooling probably requires certain MOQs on those.
Yeah, definitely so. So I think material is very important depending on the category and the material of packaging that you need to use. I would say the MOQ might change quite a bit.
And then obviously the off-the-shelf solution, where I think you can find just Google child-resistant packaging, whatever is available in the US. There's quite a bit of choices out there. So it just depending on what you're looking for. All right, moving on. Let's see. Okay, here is one. I am selling CBD. Do I need CR?
By law, you don't.
Okay.
If it's a pure CBD products, you don't really need CR for that. However, we have encountered many of the products, although main ingredient is CBD, they also have a little bit of THC inside. If that's the case, you'll need CR. So any trace of THC will require you to have a CR packaging.
Got it.
But again, going back to that sort of idea that we're proposing is or talking about, this is a pure CBD product actually, but they also have a CR cap. Now it's just a matter of, again, your message to your customer saying, this content inside for me is not suitable for my children to use, and I will, CR for me is valuable. So beyond the law, I think there's good value to have CR packaging depending on your category. If it's edible, even if it's CBD, I will say, I will suggest that you consider that as well.
Okay.
But by law, no, you don't need it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Elio. Couple more questions come in. Where can we order the boxes, and will cookies fit in there. The first question is, where can we order the boxes? You can definitely contact us if you're looking for something of these type of paper boxes. I know for the plastic ones, there are many choices in the market that's already in the stateside. I know a lot of them are made in China and gets shipped over here for domestic distribution.
Yeah.
But boxes, we can potentially help.
Yeah.
And then on the the same question, will cookies fit in there? I think earlier Leo was talking about modifications in terms of size. So depending on the size of the cookie, how many will be inside of the box. For this one in particular, I think this can fit several, maybe 6 to 8 of them, depending on the size. But we can definitely increase the size or make it bigger. The mechanism will be the same.
Yeah. So depending on the overall value of the product, this type of boxes can change in scale up and down, really. One of the things I want to maybe remind is that cookies and gummies, like most of the edibles, you probably would want to have a primary,
like a seal cookie or being sealed and put it in here, right?
Right. So if you want a bag, so what we see mostly are
they're
cookies,
using those bags.
Yeah, cookies probably are put in these bags. Now, but we also have seen a lot of cookies and edibles that have a box, really present themselves as more of a premium product. But in that case, you will probably want to have the cookies somewhat sealed before you put it into this box.
Right.
So that's, again, something that you might want to consider.
Well, let me add to that. So these two different packaging, I think there are many options for cookies. And these cost very different.
Yeah.
So depending on the budget, depending on the channel that you are selling into, we can help to kind of determine which one might be a better option for cookies specifically.
Yeah.
Yep.
But contact us if you have more
questions. If you have questions.
There's always specifics that we can discuss a little more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question here. If I want to do my own CR, how much does that cost? If I want something super custom, the style of my liking, how
very good question. So, with the experience building Zenlock, it's really about what you want to achieve. So if it's a simple CR function, I think time-wise you probably still need at least a good year, from like start designing to development, prototyping, making 300 of them, right, getting a pass. I think you want to leave at least a year to have your CR built.
Long time.
How much does it cost? Now, the testing side will be around $7,000 up and down, depending on different labs. The production, again, depending on what you make, if it's a paper box, I will say the tooling will be around maybe $1,000 to $2,000.
That sounds about right. Yep.
If you have a specialized injection molding part, the tooling for that runs like $25K upwards, right?
Yeah.
Probably more than that. So really depending on, I think, the material and the tooling that's involved in the design, the cost will, I think, range quite widely. So
got it.
I think right now there are very good solutions out there, depending on your categories. If you absolutely want to develop something on your own, I will still suggest you to contact a packaging specialist who likes to work with them. They'll probably save you quite a bit of time in terms of your own development time. And
makes sense.
Just like good experience and hints about how to actually make that work with a more better efficiency.
Very good. And then I think we're looking pretty good here. We are good. We have and go through all the questions, and guys, thank you for taking this 40 minutes of your morning with us today. In about a couple of weeks, we will release our next webinar's topic, and please stay tuned with us. And once again, that concluded our webinar today. Thanks again for your time,
Yeah.
and then hopefully we'll see you for our next month's webinar.
Yeah.
Yep, and take care. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you guys. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.